Welcome back to Working Class Minds. This is a series that we're doing with Blue Collar Endurance Training where we take some of the best athletes in the world and some of just the strongest mentalities in the world, and we talk about them and their experiences, so that way you guys, the audience, can have some good takeaways and apply it to your own running. Today I'm here with Robbie Andrews. He's a 3-time NCAA All-American, and he never finished lower than second place at an NCAA national meet. That's absolutely insane, and he has, and we'll get to it later, but he has one of the filthiest kicks that you'll ever see. So, Robbie, thanks for joining us, man.
Oh, Paul, thanks so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Cool. So first, I think this is a topic that a lot of young athletes can relate to, in the sense that a lot of them are young and hungry, and they're trying to get to a point in their career where they were doing things, or they're going to do things how you did it in your career. So I guess, can you tell me a little bit about your high school days, and if there was ever a switch in mentality from, I'm pretty good at this, to damn, like I can be really good at this. How did that work for you as a high schooler?
It's a great question, because there's a lot of kids on your high school team, a lot of high school runners, and especially now there's a lot of fast high school runners. Mm-hmm. So how do you transition into that?
Yeah.
So for me, my school was not, I grew up in New Jersey, which has tremendous running, it's great running. Mm-hmm. My school is not necessarily known for their running, but I was very lucky to have a parent that was big into running. And so my dad was helping me out, and my coach out, and my team out, right, with training and the team.
Absolutely.
So I kind of always grew up around running. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily my favorite sport. I kind of grew up with basketball as my number one sport, but
yeah, that's great.
Was it? Yeah, I think multi-sport athletes, they tend to develop longer into the sport.
They have a lot of different movements stimulated, and they're more durable.
Exactly. So. But I was a solid 5'2", 100 pounds. Wasn't exactly looking to be continuing my basketball career, but I still had this mentality that like I was a basketball player, and I was running because I grew up around it, and my dad was into it, my sister was into it, so running was always there. I kind of knew it was always going to be there for me, and I think I knew as a middle schooler basketball was going to end at some point. Right. I was okay with going into basketball and having running as kind of a secondary. Mm-hmm. But so after my sophomore year of high school, where as a team we did pretty well, I think we were like second or third in our district, which in New Jersey that doesn't mean a ton, but it was good for us, and we had a lot of returners. And then on the track, I think I got 5th in my state meet at the 800, which was kind of a surprise. After that, I remember sitting down with my dad and my coach saying, like, I finished 5th, like I think I can do better next year.
Right.
How do
the light bulb turns on.
How?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the question, how? And they said, well, you need to care more about cross country, first of all. I said, even in the 800, because I was always a miler.
For sure.
But they said, you need to care more about cross country, and you probably need to stop basketball. Mm-hmm. And that you might as well told me my puppy was dead. But after like a week, I was like, all right, it was fine. But then what did that mean? Well, like care more about cross country. So that meant keeping a running journal. Mm-hmm. So I never logged my mileage before, and then this was an easy way for me to say, I just wrote the number. I started super simple. Mm-hmm. All I wrote was 5, 6, 5. Hard, maybe. I ran hard that day. But it was super simple. And then as I got more into it, then I would write the workout down. Then I'd write the loop that I ran. So I got more detailed as I got more into it, but I started off super easy. And then that was just an easy way for me to chart my progression. So I started at, say, 40 miles a week, and then in July, and then maybe by September, I was up to 50, 55. And I was like, whoa, I trained a lot.
Yeah.
And that gave me confidence that I was in good shape and that I could race well. And so that was just the easiest way for me to get more into it, was to be present and like remember and think about what I was doing at practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And so I want to dig a little bit deeper on this in terms of establishing momentum, which when you started checking the box off really starting to fill in that journal, that's establishing momentum. And for a lot of kids, it's just the habit is so hard to form. But once it forms, then not necessarily magic, because there's not really any magic in the sport, but the investments into like that compounding interest account that only grows larger over time. That's why momentum is important in training. And so, just transitioning into your collegiate days. We'll talk about that. How did that momentum coming out of high school impact you, your freshman year and your mentality? Talk about like your hunger, those kinds of things, like your freshman year.
Yeah, so I was very, very lucky I trained with Coach Jason Vigilante, who was a product of Raleigh Geiger at NC State, and he trained with Mark Wetmore in high school. So he
New Jersey as well.
New Jersey as well.
Right.
So he came from some really strong roots, but I just connected with Coach Vig very early on in the recruiting process. And what shocked me was after senior year, I'd won indoor nationals in the 800. I'd won outdoor nationals in the 800.
What were some of those marks, just for the audience?
I'd run 149.3. I was the first high schooler sub 150 indoors, and then ran 148.6 outdoors to win my state meet, and then the national meet was 150.0. Okay. I remember that. I remember that distinctly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
But a little different back in 2009.
That is BCE, before carbon era, by the way.
That's awesome.
Anyways.
So after that, I'm like full fire. Like, all right, let's go. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
He said, take off. He said, take the whole summer off. I said, you're kidding.
Yeah. For sure.
And he said, all I care about is you coming to UVA healthy, with an open mind, and healthy. I was like, 2 healthies, okay.
Yeah.
So he just wanted me healthy and ready to train. So first week on campus, on grounds, 22 miles.
Just like, okay. That's like a number that for someone that ended up being a 3-time All-American, like no one's expecting that. So can you just kind of like break down your thought process a little bit, and for the viewer, just explain what that means to the young runner and like how that really helped you in the long term.
So it really helped me transition to college because, one, school was hard. School was really hard for me.
And I can say that as well from experience. I had some bad macroeconomics didn't go very well for me. But,
school was really hard for me. So Coach Vig, he said, I need you healthy and I need you passing all your classes. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Right. So healthy part was super easy. The passing the classes, I eventually got better at it. But for me, the school gave me something to really focus on. And the running, all I had to do was show up to practice. And what are we doing today, Coach Paul? Go run 60 minutes. Great. After practice, go to the study hall and do that. I wasn't even thinking about practice. So it was an easy way for me to keep my running, and my school life and social life, my social life. But that's, sometimes they blend in, of course, but for me at that moment, it really helped that I could make the differential because I was obviously training hard. It started at 20, we got up there.
Right.
But it was that building that momentum, and Coach Vig loves that word, and I love that word, momentum.
Yes.
So all he cared about each week, a little better. We went to this one hill. It was insane. It was Fontaine Hill, and we'd do 60-second repeats up it. And every other week, he's like, as long as you're getting a little further this week than 2 weeks.
Like a little bit further than that branch or that like stick.
I'll never forget that tree. Yeah. And
exactly.
And it that's all we cared about was just very small progressions over big periods of time.
Right.
He told our incoming class, our freshman class, he's like, I don't really expect much from you this year. He's like, but it's the long-term approach. If you can make these little increments, these little progressions over the next 4 or 5 years, he's like, you're going to be great runners. You're not going to be good. You're going to be great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I think this can be extremely valuable, and I think it's almost a paradox in a way, right? A lot of athletes are hungry, but they're so hungry that it impacts their ability to think long term. Right. And make those tiny deposits every day. And that's what you were doing. But I know you were a hungry guy. We see how it turned out right in your career. So can you just talk a little bit about like the balance between having that hunger, but being able to channel that hunger into like a long-term viewpoint? I think that would be really valuable for some like the viewers watching. So
I'm kind of going to jump timelines here, but
for sure,
this is post-collegiate now, so professional. First few years as a professional, and just every day is just gotta be the best, gotta do this run the best, gotta do this. And Vidge called it strangling the puppy. He's like, you love it so much, you care about it so much, it's the cutest little, you love it, and you kill it. So the run, every run does not need to be an 11 out of 10. Very few need to be 10 out of 10s. Very few need to be 9 out of 10s. So I needed to learn. I gave myself a hernia, actually. I was so stressed out every day. Was just so much stress that the running was going poorly. I was very unhappy. It just nothing was really clicking. And then it wasn't until I had the hernia surgery and I was forced to take time off that me and Vidge were like, okay, yeah, you need to chill out. Like, you need to go back to freshman year, Robbie, where you're focusing on school, but you know it's I wasn't going back to school, so for me, like you just need to find something a different outlet, because for me, if I only thought about the next workout, the next run for 24 hours out of the day, it wouldn't work for me. So sometimes you got to care so much to kind of let it go a little bit, give it a little leash.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Yeah, that's a really, really hard lesson to tell someone. It's a lot harder to learn it, but then once you know it, it's a good. Every once in a while you need a reminder, and that's something I talk to my wife about a lot too. Is hey, let's chill.
Yeah, totally. It's always like, I think a great coach, and that's what your coach did, knows how to be a brake pedal and not always just the gas pedal, because it's easy to hit the gas, especially like with everyone at this level. They just want to be going 100 miles an hour all the time, and we've kind of learned that's not the way that it gets done here.
Not always,
sport.
yeah, not always.
So it's like, that great lesson for sure, and great takeaway.
The longer I coach, the more I find myself saying slower and less than more and faster.
Right.
It's quite the paradox, yeah. But it's because it's over time. It's no one run, it's no one workout. It's the accumulation of all your training.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now kind of going a little bit not as deep here. I want to touch on just some things that people might find just cool about you in general. What are some workouts that you've done, especially in college? And I'm not talking like the sexiest. I'm not talking about the flashiest. I'm talking like just staple routine, like just we're walking away from that. It's like, all right, solid day. Like, what were some of those workouts?
Good. This will be a good conversation topic.
Right.
So, hills and tempo. Which order do you do them in?
I would say,
like if you do a combo, like if you're doing hill repeats and you're doing like a tempo or say track stuff, like which order do you do them in?
I like mixtures.
Okay.
Especially for cross country, I think this is great. You have them do like a threshold effort rep, roughly 3 minutes, really short recovery, and then we do a hill burst.
Oh, cool.
So we're keeping the fast twitch fiber stimulated there.
Nice.
And obviously teaching ourselves to deal with the undulations of cross country racing.
Beautiful.
So I think that's great. And then you take a long set recovery, and then you go back into it again.
Totally.
Just repeat as needed.
Cool.
But
Okay. So that hill that I was mentioning before. So we would do hills first, and then we jog over to the track tempo. And again, this is middle distance, like not necessarily getting ready for 2 by 10K.
Speed endurance.
Yeah.
I would say.
So we do the hills first, and then we'd go to the track and do our tempo or mile repeats, and it feels so slow because we're sprinting on a hill for a while. But that was I think we eventually got up to I think it was 12 by a minute hill, and then we did 3 miles on the track, 3 miles continuous on the track, and that was kind of like a pretty big. So 3 miles of hills, 3 miles of track. That was kind of the big volume for us, and that's young kids like 19, 20 years old. But that was like, I feel like that got me super fit. That's about as simple as it gets, hills and tempo, which is a great lesson to keep in mind. It's like, it doesn't have to be super exciting all the time. And then Vidge loved, we called them 30-30s, just 200s and 30 with 30 seconds rest. And this is sea level. This is sea level.
Of course, yeah.
But that was, I think first time I did that workout, I could do like 12 of them. And then eventually we got to be doing tempo beforehand, and then we did the 30-30s.
Right.
Just, you can adjust workouts.
It's a little bit like race specific.
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah.
You want to run 30 smoothly at your level. So yeah, no, that makes complete sense.
Yeah, that was those are the two that really, really stick out to me. And oh man, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. So now we're gonna do a little bit of a reaction here. We're gonna and this will be cool to see. So obviously Shane Cohen just won the 800 for UVA, and then whenever you competed, you also won the 800 in an extremely similar fashion. I got the reel pulled up here.
All right.
Just like you just give me all your thoughts, and then we'll pop it up on screen for the viewers.
Man, so we got about 150 to go here. So Cohen's still in last. Shane's still in last. I'm already moving up here. Shane just, oh my God, see, he's all the way out in lane 4. His last 50 is just outrageous. Like his is kind of a big punch. Mine was a little bit more drawn out.
That last 10 from you though.
Yeah, it's, oh my God, his last 70 is just outrageous.
How would you, it looks similar. So kind of to close it out, it looks similar from like eye to eye, like just the viewer watching. How would you say yours was unique in comparison to his, and his unique in comparison to yours?
So everyone has a different story, of course. So Shane's is insanely unique in that he's coming from the Division II ranks, which as we're learning means very little. It's like there's great runners in any division, but just that he did come from D2, and this was his first year in Division I, and then for him to finish third in the ACC and had never been in an NCAA meet before, for him to have the confidence to wait till the last 90 meters is pretty special. And as we saw at the trials, like if it's a 144 race, he is not losing many races like that. Whereas my race, that was I was only a sophomore at the time. Charles Jock had run 145. He's very similar to Whitmarsh in that sense. Like they both had run very fast throughout the year. They both run 144 throughout the year. But I was coming off an injury. I didn't get to run that indoor season. I didn't start running until February or March of that year. And it just, they went out in 49. Charles went out in 49. It was
completely different race.
Just kind of a different race.
Yeah, completely different.
And like, but this the composure that Shane showed to wait that long is just, it's pretty rare. It's very rare. Especially comparing it to Will Sumner from last year, where he's negative splitting from the front. 144 low. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting off.
You're good.
The 800 is just so exciting.
The 800 is crazy in that way, and it's one of the most unique events because of how many different game plans and strategies can work. So I really appreciate giving some perspective on that. It's super super cool, and thanks for coming on as well, guys. This was a great episode. I actually really enjoyed chatting with Robbie, and hopefully you guys had some takeaways as well, because I know I did for sure. And we'll link Robbie's socials in the description, and literally any comment, follow, repost, share, all of those things just help us grow the sport, because it's getting the right information out to people that are just getting started, people that want to run in college, and just grows the sport. So really appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of Working Class Minds, and thank you so much, Robbie.
Thank you, Paul.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.